The California Eviction Moratorium is officially over. AB 2179 was not extended nor replaced by another eviction moratorium bill. Does this mean that renters can be evicted in California? Yes and no. In this guide for renters and landlords, we're going to explain what happens next now that AB 2179 has expired and the eviction moratorium is officially over at the statewide level. Plus, stick around to the end because we're going to share what's happening to some local eviction moratoria, namely the LA City Eviction Moratorium, the LA County Eviction Moratorium, and the San Diego Eviction Moratorium. Hey there, Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. We have been helping renters and landlords understand eviction moratoria in California and beyond since the very beginning. And we are here to tell you about the end in California. AB 2179 has not been extended as of filming this video, nor has it been replaced by another one. Two quick things. One is we can't give tax or legal advice, but for the most honest and up-to-date real estate advice, subscribe to this channel. And number two, we're going to share a little bit about it. You need to understand your local regulations. There still are some local eviction moratoria in place. What was AB 2179? Well, it was the last of the eviction moratoria at the statewide level in California. And the reason it was put into place in March of 2022 at the very end is because a lot of folks were still waiting on rental assistance and the previous eviction moratoria bill was about to expire. So an additional 3 months were granted through the end of June 2022 for landlords to receive the rental assistance. And what it specifically said that as long as a tenant applied for rental assistance before March 31st of 2022, a landlord could not evict for non-payment of rent due to COVID while waiting for those funds. What it did though is it also opened up a loophole, and we did another video on this that you can watch. If a tenant did not pay for April, May, or June of 2022 rent, the landlord could move forward with a 3-day pay or quit and then an unlawful detainer if the tenant didn't pay for those months, even if waiting on rental assistance for March and before. Additionally, AB 2179 preempted some local eviction moratoria as related to non-payment of rent due to COVID-19. So what that meant, for example, is the LA County Eviction Moratorium, the protections for non-payment of rent due to COVID-19 were blocked temporarily while AB 2179 was in place. All the other portions related to just cause, no fault evictions were able to stay in place. But in LA County, like the rest of California, and that didn't have a local eviction moratorium, those tenants were in jeopardy if they didn't pay April, May, and June of 2022. So here we are on July 1st of 2022, and essentially we're at the point now where landlords don't have to wait for rental assistance any longer and can move forward with a 3-day notice to pay or quit, and subsequently an unlawful detainer action if the landlord isn't paid the rent from October through March. They no longer have to wait for rental assistance. I know some of you are looking at this thinking, what in the world is Christian getting us into? But this is a visual representation of the entire pandemic and all the eviction moratoria. It's a culmination of all the videos, everything I've done, and it basically boils down to this. I'm going to run through this real fast. It should help you understand exactly where we are as far as the eviction moratoria go. Now that AB 2179 is over, things have changed in California. So let's take a quick look. So it is broken down into the different time periods. It's from the beginning of COVID all the way through today and beyond. The first line on here talks about at fault evictions. And by fault, we mean whose fault is the tenant's fault. So this would be where the tenant has done something wrong. For example, committing waste, nuisance, or a crime was committed on the property. That would be a reason that the landlord could evict the tenant. Now, bear in mind, early on in the pandemic, early on with the eviction moratoria, the only way that a tenant could be evicted really at all was for a health and safety item, and that had to be very serious. So there were not many evictions going on early on. As we got later into the pandemic, things changed and landlords could again evict for at-fault reasons, all except for non-payment of rent due to COVID. The other thing I'll mention is some local eviction moratoria prevented landlords from evicting for certain at-fault reasons. In LA County and LA City, if there were extra occupants in the home, typically a landlord could terminate a tenancy for that, could evict, but not under those eviction moratoria. So that's an example. If there isn't an eviction moratorium in place in your given area, any of the at-fault reasons will now apply. The next line are the no-fault evictions. And by no fault, we mean the tenant hasn't done anything wrong. The landlord wants to terminate the tenancy, for example, to have the family move in, maybe to do some major repairs. Now, those were not happening very regularly until October of 2021. That's when things got back to normal at the statewide level, and landlords could move forward with no-fault evictions. Again, if there's a local eviction moratorium, you hear me say this over and over, but it's important. In some areas, no-fault evictions could not move forward and still can't move forward even today. Now we're jumping into the non-payment of rent due to COVID. So no evictions could happen early on for non-payment of rent. So if rent was missed by a tenant between March of 2020 and August of 2020, and that tenant still hasn't paid that rent, a tenant cannot be evicted for non-payment of rent during this time period, as long as they gave certain declarations to the landlord, which most did, and landlords had to give declarations as well, and some landlords didn't. So if you are a tenant who had missed rent during this time period and housing assistance didn't cover it and you still haven't paid it, you cannot be evicted. Moving on to the next phase. So from September 2020 through September 2021, as long as a tenant gave those declarations and paid 25% of monthly missed rent by September of 2021 for this time period, that tenant cannot be evicted. So even if there's still 75% of rent out there that is due for this time period today, the tenant cannot be evicted for missed rent due to COVID during that time period. And the next line below that, a tenant could not be evicted for non-payment of rent due to COVID, and technically not due to COVID, but we won't go into that. We talked about that in past videos. As long as the tenant applied for rental assistance by March 31st of 2022, the tenant could not be evicted according to AB 2179, which just ended. They could not be evicted for rent that was owed between October and March of 2022, as long as the tenant applied for rental assistance by March 31st, 2022. Side note, if a tenant moved in October 2021 or later and missed rent payments due to COVID, they weren't protected, by the way. They could have been evicted. These protections under this legislation were not there for those tenants. So you can see between the line we just discussed and the last line, where we have eviction for non-payment of rent for everybody, there's some overlap. And this is where what we talked about with the loophole in AB 2179. And I have another video on that. You can watch that. But what it said is that if a tenant owed rent, for example, from October 2021 through March of 2022, they applied for rental assistance, and then the tenant did not pay April, May, or June of 2022 rent, the landlord was able to move forward with an unlawful detainer, move forward with the eviction, as long as they only referenced those months, April, May, and June. So for tenants who missed rent in April, May, and June of 2022, the landlord could evict for that rent, even if waiting on rental assistance. Now going forward, now that AB 2179 is over, there aren't any protections for anybody who missed rent due to COVID from October 2021 through July and beyond. So right now, unless another bill is rolled out or some sort of extension goes out, a tenant can be evicted even if waiting on rental assistance right now. And we'll take a quick run through of some local eviction moratoria. Now bear in mind that there aren't that many local eviction moratoria left in place. So for example, Orange County, where I'm based, does not have any sort of local eviction moratorium. So now that AB 2179 is over, landlords can move forward as I've described in this video. Now LA City has a local eviction moratorium. AB 2179 did not affect LA City's eviction moratorium, made no changes to it because it was put in place a long enough time ago. And now that AB 2179 has ended, there are no changes in the LA City eviction moratorium either. So nothing has changed for LA City. For LA County, things have changed, and it's specifically related to non-payment of rent due to COVID-19. Every other thing in place in the LA County Eviction Moratorium has been in place. And we've covered this in other video content, and right now we are in phase 2 of the LA County Eviction Moratorium, and I suggest you watch that. What happened with AB 2179 is that temporarily the protections for non-payment of rent due to COVID-19 were blocked. So in LA County, a landlord theoretically could move forward with an eviction if a tenant did not pay rent in April, May, and June of 2022. Now that we're in July, the protections are back in place, and specifically the protections are in place for those at 80% of area median income or lower. They must self-certify their income and the fact that COVID is affecting them, and they are protected from eviction. So the LA County Eviction Moratorium essentially has gone back to what it was, subject to the requirements of phase 2. Make sure you check out our other video on that. And San Diego City Eviction Moratorium actually went in place during AB 2179, and it's specifically related to no-fault evictions. And that one has not changed and will not change with the end of AB 2179. So here's a quick summary. If there is not a local eviction moratorium in your area, AB 2179 is over. Landlords do not have to wait for rental assistance from Housing is Key before moving forward with a 3-day notice to pay or quit. You potentially can be evicted if you are behind on rent from October 2021 through March of 2022. Had you missed rent in April, May, and June of 2022, you technically could have been evicted for that right there. If you receive any sort of notice as a renter, make sure you immediately reach out to an attorney. You can find free or low-cost legal assistance through lawhelp.org. And landlords, we encourage you to engage the services of a qualified eviction attorney before moving forward with any eviction notice or any notices to pay or quit. All right, I'm sure you're going to have some questions. Leave those in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter. You'll get the infographic we had in this video, plus a whole lot more that renters and landlords need to know in the state of California. And you don't want to miss this playlist if you're a renter or landlord in California. We'll continue to bring content that you need to see. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we want to hear from you.